Okay, well, we might as well get started. Since this is being recorded, we'll have this available online later through the online education website. As you can see, this is the Best Practices series, a showcase of interactives within online education. I am Christopher Duke. I am the Instructional Applications Coordinator. I have been at the university here for a little over 5 years. I've been exposed to a variety of distance education programs and programming techniques, and have been working in this field for the last 10 years. And along with me is Shannon Peevey. He is an Instructional Applications Programmer for the online education team. He has a Bachelor's in Music and a Master's of Library Science from the University of North Texas, and he's been developing for quite a few years now as well. We also have Paul Erickson, another Instructional Applications Programmer within the online education team. He's been with us for almost over 6 years, I think, now, and he's well-versed in PHP development, Flash, and HTML5 development, and creates a number of activities for science, fine arts, liberal arts, and other disciplines. Our most recent member of the programming team is John Murphy. He's an Instructional Applications Programmer as well, well-versed in JavaScript, HTML5, and dabbles in Python. He did serve on as a web designer for the UNLV libraries previously. And so I just introduced you to who we are. During this webinar, we'll be also going over what the Instructional Applications Programmers do for online education and the tools and skills we use to produce the applications that will be shown. As this is part of the Best Practices series, we'll be exploring Bloom's Taxonomy, as it is the foundation from which our interactives start to take shape. And then finally, we will go into what is expected from the instructor when an interactive application is built as part of their course. The objectives of this webinar are so that by the end of the presentation, you should be able to, if not by name, identify who on your online education team will be assisting in the development of interactive applications. You should also have a better understanding of what the programmers can do and how we are able to work towards a solution for your course. If you don't already, we will give you a better understanding to be able to recognize the levels of Bloom's taxonomy to help you better identify what sorts of activities may be helpful to your course. Going through a few example interactives, you should begin to see what solutions currently exist and possibly what could be used with material in your course. And then finally, by the end of this webinar, we will give you an overview of what it will be like to work with us and what materials and processes will be expected to create educational and interactive experiences. So the Interactive Applications team, here within online education, they serve a function of instructional development, but also there's other members such as Justin, who is part of this presentation, and we all help maintain the website, database, and file servers for online education. And this includes server functionality, course and website development. They're all part of our core services in the development team. As part of the development team, we are there for the course when it needs something extra to help get a point across or provide for an online experience where normally an in-class experience would be used. Online education developers are versed in a number of strategies, programming libraries, and tools that can be used to create interactive activities for courses. And so how do we do that? What are the tools we use? Through the use of a variety of programming languages and tools. While the past few years, the majority of our interactives were developed in Flash, we have transitioned to using HTML and JavaScript to create activities that will run on a wider variety of platforms and devices, including a number of mobile and tablet platforms. All of our activities are tested to run on the base supported configuration of whatever the UNLV Web Campus system is currently supporting. We also make use of dynamic languages such as PHP These languages run on online education servers to provide for more complex, secure, or otherwise difficult operations. These would include activities that store and retrieve data to and from a database, interacting with the gradebook, and large calculations that are better handled on a server than on a student's computer. We are always looking for new techniques, libraries, and languages to ensure the online educational team can support the newest potential ideas and solutions. Along with the rest of the OE team, we will also be a resource for open educational resources. Our knowledge of tools that can be used for a variety of courses may apply to your course. While in the process of discovering what your objectives are for your course, we may find one of these tools to be the best solution. These resources may be tools provided by Google, sites that provide textbooks or interactives, or other sites that provide unique user experiences. And now going into Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is the classification of learning objectives within education. It was originally created by Benjamin Bloom in 1956 as a scientific model to describe learning. During the 1990s, a group of cognitive psychologists, led by Lauren Anderson, who was a former student of Bloom, updated the taxonomy to reflect relevance to 21st century work. Bloom's taxonomy consists of 6 levels in the cognitive domain: remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. These levels are usually represented in a pyramid formation, attributed to lower level thinking as a foundation and up to higher level thinking at the top. Bloom's taxonomy implies that by applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, it will lead to new insights and make the student more likely to have one of those aha moments, and using remembering and understanding as more of a repetitive activity to comprehend the material. Along with Bloom's taxonomy, we make use of the concept of user freedom. User freedom is a measure of a medium's potential ability to let the user exert an influence on the content and or the form of a mediated communication. There are 9 levels of user freedom: watch, pace, sequence, select, request, do, use, construct, and create. As we go through each level of Bloom's taxonomy, we'll also show how these will apply. So the first stage of Bloom's taxonomy is remembering, and it's really focusing on, can the student recall or remember information? Classic examples of verbs used as part of learning objectives in this domain include to define, label, outline, list, and name. And so something for this webinar would be, by the end of this presentation, the viewer will be able to list the levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Some activities in this domain would include things like graphics, flashcards, slideshow shares, and other materials where a student sees information but is likely not doing too much more than clicking to read more. User freedom in these activities is limited to watch, pace, and sequence. The system either makes no provision to accept user input or gives the student the ability to pause, speed up, or rewind the presentation of the instructional materials, or even go so far as to give the student the ability to change the order in which content is presented. I'm going to now hand it over to one of my colleagues to have them present on some of their instructional activities and that kind of fall into this remembering domain.
Hey, Shannon, did you want to go first? Because I'm talking about flashcards and I'm kind of building on your exercise. Don't know if you want to take that, or I can start with the Supreme Court Justices thing.
That's actually not mine. Mine are the multiple choice quizzes and then the blood pressure radial.
So I missed that last bit. You don't have flashcards in yours?
Correct, they weren't included in the presentation.
All right, I'll get started then. Okay, let me get the Okay, so I'm starting with the Supreme Court Justices Interactive, and I feel like this interactive is a good example of reacting to evolving web development practices and trying to meet the needs of our users. This is the original version of the interactive that was programmed in Flash and can be viewed on our site under visualizations. And as you can see, it's kind of like a sorting activity. You can select these different characteristics, and it will sort the Supreme Court justices based on that, like where they went to college, what their birthday is, things like that. However, if you ever try to view this interactive or any other, oh shoot, hold on a second, I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, so yeah, if you've ever tried to visit this interactive or any other Flash interactive from your phone or tablet, it doesn't show up, as these devices generally don't support Flash. And this is a problem because we've known for a while now that a growing group of people not only prefer to browse the web from mobile devices, but that more and more of them only use mobile devices to access the internet. There are a number of reasons for this, and it can be portability, convenience, affordability. But bottom line is that because of this trend, we have to program our interactive so that they can be viewed on all devices. So this is the new version of the Justices Interactive. Let's see if I can. It's kind of a boilerplate look and theme, but the functionality is in place. Because it's programmed in HTML5 and JavaScript, it can be viewed on all devices. And as you can see here, it still works the same as the other activity where you're clicking on these different categories and it will sort the justices into groups. In addition, we have an eye on responsive design so that our sites and applications will not only work on mobile devices, but the layouts will actually change to fit the size of the browser. Now I'm going to try and demonstrate that here on my desktop. I'm going to try and keep it slow because I know it's a little choppy on the video feedback, but you can see that as you shrink the browser down in width, that the layout will actually shift to accommodate, so you don't have any horizontal scrolling and things like that. And I can't really show what this is going to look like on a tablet because I'm casting this from a desktop, but you can kind of see how it's going to look on tablet and mobile as you shrink down. This is approximately what it would look like on a mobile view. So really this is about recognizing a technology trend, kind of converting our old interactives and then future-proofing our new interactives to the best of our ability. Chris, did you have anything to add to that, or do you want me to just kind of continue into flashcards?
No, that sounded good. Yeah, if we could move on to the flashcards, that'd be great.
Okay. Okay, this is a flashcard activity that kind of builds on one of Shannon's interactives, which is, I mean, everyone knows how flashcards work. He built a really good interactive, provides like a nice online visual representation of flashcards. We can have any combination of text and images on both sides of the card, and we animate the flip. So here we have an example of, just a term with a definition on the other side. We can have images. We have our friendly cat here. We can show the flip and show any kind of image on the other side. But we can also, I'm using this interactive as a good example of how we can extend our existing projects. So Shannon had a really good base design for this flashcards activity, but we have a nursing class where the professor needs an activity with one small twist, and that is she wants students to be able to submit an answer in order to flip the card. In this case, we have a question on the front side, and I'm going to answer correctly because I cheated, but it will actually check the answer on the flip side of the card. You can see if I put in the wrong answer, it will give me a little red X. So what was once purely a remembering level activity is now starting to shift towards the understanding level activity. And you can use your imagination as to how sophisticated you want the student input to be. I mean, here we just have a simple text input. You could have multiple inputs. You could have multiple choice question. You could have it so that the input could possibly dictate the content you see on the other side of the card. But basically, this is just an example of how we can extend our existing projects and kind of tailor it to fit the needs of a particular class. That's all I have for that.
All right, thank you, John.
So this is Shannon, and I'm taking over with understanding. Obviously, John covered just a lot of what we do and what we're trying to do with the transition away from Flash to using HTML5 for rich media content delivery. Basically, what I want to focus on is there's actually a group of multiple choice quizzes here. I'm really using the same brains behind the scenes, but they are an attempt to have this layout that John was talking about that will fit multiple browsers, that will work on all platforms, and also have a nice look and feel. As you can see here, we have an interactive that we built for WLC 311. This is just a simple multiple choice quiz. You can use radio buttons, you can use checkboxes. The layout and design was done by Paul Mudd, who I think is in the audience today, and looks great. It's, we repurposed it for other courses as well. And essentially, once you click next, we decided, this professor decided to not get immediate feedback, as we saw in the flashcards in the previous set that John was talking about. But we waited till the end, and that was their choice to get the feedback at the end. So you can try again. As you can see here, we also had an Easter egg, which allows students to gather up little hidden secrets, and then at the end they enter that, and they were given a secret prize. So this was the multiple choice quiz that we created for that. Using the same idea but a different layout, we have what's I call the tiled multiple choice quiz. This is really just an image, again designed by Paul Mudd, and the image is broken up into the number of questions, and as the student clicks on it, then they will get a pop-up right here, as you can see. Same exact brains as the last multiple choice quiz that we saw, just a different layout, really nice looking. The pop-ups look really nice. They fit and it scales side to side. You can do the same thing, multiple choice, with radio buttons and checkboxes. You could probably also do text box input, but we haven't done that yet. And then you can see here a shot with the image, so we have a few of the questions answered and the image starts to disappear. And what I recommend with this one is that you put some sort of message underneath, or even a little secret Easter egg hint. This is what we're using this multiple choice quiz for here, and that's, as you can see, once they get to the end, they get a secret code, they get the feedback, normal feedback, and then they also get the image. So here's the feedback. You're correct, you're incorrect, with feedback. And as you can see VOD behind the image there. And that is, once that's removed, in this case it says good job, but it could be anything. We were hoping to use IPA phonetic symbols and let the students build that up. The third multiple choice quiz that we have is the video quiz, again designed by Paul Mudd. And using, I believe he was using iOS 7 as an idea. And so basically we embed the video, and then we pop up questions at certain times within the video. And these can be, they can be multiple choice questions, they can be informational text, they can be embedded videos. And here in this case you see James Cho had created a 4-panel video with Sean Nightswinger from Biology 189, and he's doing his semi-permeable membrane laboratory here. And you can see here, once we reach a certain point in the video, then it pops up a multiple choice question there. They can answer it. And we can give immediate feedback, or we can wait till the end. I also wanted to point out that within these embedded videos, the artists are also creating animations. In this case, we have Lisa Wabel's animation that she has embedded in the video that James made. And so you get to see some of the great 3D work that the artists are doing. At the end of the video quiz, you get your feedback. What's fun with this one is that these are actually clickable. Click to replay is a clickable hyperlink. You click that, it'll take you back to the section so you can review the section, the content, and then it'll provide you with the correct feedback. That was a design choice made by the professor, and it has been useful for just reinforcing some of the content that maybe the students missed the first time through. And that's the last of that, and I'll be turning it over to Paul Erickson.
Well, actually, real quick before you start presenting, Paul, I just wanted to kind of go over, once again, the understanding block for Bloom's taxonomy. Really, you know, coming back to the concept here, it was, can the student explain ideas or concepts? And then the tools that the verbs that they'd gain from the understanding area would be things like compare, define, estimate, identify, paraphrase, rewrite, and summarize. And so quiz kind of comes in there because it's a better understanding of the material and getting a good understanding of it. So the concept of this presentation would be, by the end of this presentation, the viewer will be able to explain Bloom's taxonomy in his or her own words. And so we have things like multiple choice tests, which Shannon showed us, and things like this labeling diagram about the atmospheric processes, which was displayed on this slide. Some of the user freedom at this level usually exhibits activities in the select and request domain. Select level interactivity gives students the ability to choose which content is to be viewed from a pre-specified list of choices. And then request allows students to query information not on a pre-specified list. And so now we'll hop to the applying level. Applying is, can the student use the information that they've been presented in new and different ways? The action words for this domain include choose, determine, illustrate, modify, practice, select, and respond. So by the end of this presentation, the viewer will be able to choose which level of Bloom's taxonomy an activity would fall under. Activities in this domain would include such activities as the ones you're seeing on the screen, where students are giving scenarios about the concept, and then they get to choose whether words need to be removed from a block of text, or what sort of effect an owner withdrawing cash from the business would have an increase or decrease effect in the company. And so user freedom activities usually follow lines at the do level. This level of interactivity allows the student to respond to a prompt for input and for the system to evaluate the response. And so Paul will now show his team-based learning concept, which applies in this area.
Hi, I'm Paul Erickson. Hopefully the slides are changing for you. This morning I'd like to introduce to you a possibility or a potential use of group activities in your course, and it's something that is known as team-based learning. And it's a pretty common thing in face-to-face courses where groups get together and they discuss a question and they arrive at an answer within the group. And it's a highly engaging task, and it's something that we wanted to take to the asynchronous and fully online courses. So we took this concept and we developed an application called team-based learning. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides here really quickly and kind of basically introduce you to the concept. And obviously, as you are aware, if you've been teaching online for any length of time, or even if you're just coming into the online teaching environment, you know that your students can be both widely separated geographically and in time. They might be in different time zones, different countries. So how do you get group discussion to work in a fully online course? One of the things that we wanted to do in this activity was get the students engaged in an asynchronous environment and allow them to answer questions, and also to make multiple attempts to answer a question. So basically the idea was if they get the answer correct on the first attempt, then they would get 3 points. And on the second attempt, they might get 2 points, 1 point, or whatever. It's kind of an arbitrary value. But basically the idea was just to allow them multiple chances. And so how do you do this in an online environment? First of all, what we do is within a group, we set up in the LMS a group discussion board, as you can see on the slide that I just pulled up there. So essentially the group will have access to the question. They can discuss it asynchronously in the group discussion board. And once they arrive at an answer within the group representative will take their answer and access the team-based learning activity. And right now I'm showing you an example question of what that might look like. And in this example, where you see that the group representative is now answering question number 2, as you can see by the right arrow pointing up to question number 2. And they've already attempted it once, so the first time they got it incorrect, and being in an asynchronous environment, if they do get it incorrect, the group representative will go back into the LMS, into the discussion tool, and let the other group members know that, hey, we need to try this again. Further discussion is ensued in the discussion board, and once they arrive at the second answer, the group representative can come back to the application, and it will pick up exactly where they left off on question number 2, and they are no longer have 3 points available in this attempt. They're going to get a total of 2 points. And as you can see by the green check mark over to the right there on their second attempt, they did get it correct, and they've got a total of 2 points. So they get immediate feedback, and once again, if they got it incorrect on this attempt, they would go back into the discussion board, come up with what their next choice would be, and on the next attempt it would be 1 point. But in this case here, they got it correct. So they are moving on to question number 3. This application is pretty flexible. It can have any number of questions and any number of responses, like a true-false question with 2 responses. And you can see an example here, they got a total of 5 possible choices. It could be as many choices as you want, as many distractors, etc. So this is an example of a multiple choice question. The other type of question that the team-based learning activity can handle is a scenario type of question. And this is a little bit more involved. In this case here, they would be given some kind of a scenario, whether it be a case study on a hospital event, or something in accounting, or even mathematics or physics, or it really doesn't matter. Any kind of scenario where they would read the material, come up with what they think is the best choice. And in some of these scenarios, there may not be one single best choice. There may be 2, but the whole idea here is they read the scenario, which once again they can discuss in the LMS discussion tool, come up with what they think is the best answer, and then once they all agree on it, they have to agree not only on the answer to the question, but they also have to come up with a defense of their answer, which is really important, and it's very engaging as far as getting everybody to think critically about what information that they've read in the scenario. So once again, once they've all reached consensus on both the answer to the question as well as drafted their defense of their answer, the group representative will come into the application here and choose the best answer, and then they would paste their defense into the defense area on the bottom of the slide. So once again, highly engaging, very effective for group teamwork in an online environment, and something that has received very favorable comments from the students who have been using it. So as a faculty member, you might be wondering, how do I interact with this? And I'm going to give a very brief snapshot demonstration of what the faculty would see. We provided a web portal, or a dashboard, so to speak, that shows the response of the different groups. In this case here, if you see it, take a look on the slide, I'm showing 2 groups here, total of 9 questions. You can see which group has answered which question, and I think one of the very valuable things as a faculty member is you can see for each question how many attempts that the group made. And in this case here, if we look at question number 2, group 1 chose B, then D, then C, so it took them 3 attempts. They finally got it correct on the last one. They got 1 point. Group 2, however, struggled a little bit more. They chose B, D, then A, then C. So you can see that from this example, question number 2 is something that the students are probably not grasping very well, and you can either maybe change the content a little bit to emphasize that topic a little bit more, or maybe even reevaluate the question. Is the question a valid question? That gets into the pedagogy side of it, and I would defer that type of discussion to our instructional designers, but you can see that this might be a very powerful tool to use in your course. So anyway, if you have any questions about this activity, give us a call or send us an email, and we'd be happy to implement it in your course if you think it'll work for you. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, Paul. So as that was going over the applying, now we head into the analyzing level. And the analyzing level asks the question, can the student distinguish between the different parts of the concept? So analyze, classify, diagram, examine, group, infer, monitor, observe, review, sequence. These are all action words for this domain. So by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to classify the domains of Bloom's taxonomy in your learning objectives and explain in detail how your learning objectives apply to each level. And so activities in this domain include things like lab experiments where students are expected to comment on their observations, or inferring from a scenario, something like Pavlov's dog is going to do. User freedom for these activities usually falls along the lines of the use level. Use level interactivity allows the students to perform a task with a provided set of tools. And so now Shannon will be showing us a presentation on this blood pressure.
Thanks, Chris. Yep, this is Shannon again, and just wanted to talk about one of the most exciting interactives that I've worked with in my short time here with online education. This is the blood pressure and radial pulse interactive that we did for Biology 189, and this was really just a lot of fun. There were a lot of issues that we had to overcome. It was really a team effort with Paul Mudd and Lisa Wabel working on the art assets that we had. We had student workers who were working hard and teaching us. That's one of the most exciting parts of my job, is learning from the students. And what it is basically, it's an interactive that allows students to accurately take the radial pulse or heart rate and or blood pressure of a patient at various states of exertion. As you can see here, this is the radial pulse question, and essentially, even though you don't have the actual interactivity here on the screen, when you hit start, the red dot will pulse in and out, fading in and out, and then you'll also have an audible heartbeat, and that was created by James Cho. And so we synchronized those two items, which was actually one of the difficulties that we had, because JavaScript sometimes struggles with timing and timing accurately. Hopefully that will be taken care of. Flash is much better in that realm, but I'm sure over the next few years JavaScript will catch up. So anyways, so they count it for 15 seconds, multiply it by 4, and that gives them the heart rate of the person. As you can tell from the question here, what is the pulse immediately after jogging? So I imagine it will be a little bit higher than if they were standing. The next question shows you the actual sphygmomanometer that was created by Paul Mudd, with the actual gauge inside was modified by Lisa Wabel, and Shatila Prayer did most of the layout work here, and I think it looks amazing. Same thing, you can click the bulb, and the actual needle will rise just like on a regular sphygmomanometer. And once you reach the top, then you click the red button, and the needle will start to drop as the air is released. Once it reaches the defined point, the systolic and diastolic point, the heart rate will, the heart that you see over the body will actually beat, as will the center of the dial. So it actually helps users to be able to kind of look and as well as hear what's going on. And so this was really a team effort. Everybody was helping. It was just fantastic. We've got some other Biology 189 interactives that we're finishing up that are also exciting. They weren't quite ready for today, but they will be in the next few weeks. I'm excited to see how they turn out.
All right, thank you, Shannon. For the next level, it is evaluating. And it's evaluating whether the student can justify a stand or decision about the concept. So by the end of this presentation, the viewer will be able to determine whether using a remembering interaction or evaluating interaction would be more appropriate for the students in a key area of your course. So words like assess, choose, construct, evaluate, recommend, test, and verify are kind of action words for this domain. The user freedom at this level is of varying types and can venture into higher level freedom, which we present next, such as a create or construct. But activities in this domain include things like scenarios. We're given a potential juror pool and asked to evaluate a group and discuss why their jury selection will help them win a case. And so I'm going to showcase that right now. So as part of the CRJ 104, they are given a lesson about trial and appellate juries. And so in this activity, the students are presented with a scenario where there is a defense attorney for a person who is on trial for getting a DUI. And during that process, she is charged with second-degree murder because she sideswiped a car, killing a mother and child. They're posed with the voir dire process, and they're given an activity where they're given a potential juror pool, and they're interviewing each one to see whether or not they are good candidates for them to have on their jury. Initially, the field is of 24 people. Each person can be clicked on once, and their answer will be given to a basic question to introduce themselves. Upon reviewing this answer, the student can either go to another person and see their response, or click on that person again and choose if they want to challenge them using one of their 8 preemptory challenges, or they can remove them for any reason, or they can challenge them for cause, where they must be a legitimate reason and something like they're related to the defendant. And so we'll click on Mr. Ron Burgundy here, who had a successful career as a news anchor until he was hit by a drunk driver and had to learn and speak and walk again. Says he thinks all drunk drivers should be sentenced to death. So when you return to the jury pool, you can click on him again and say, we probably don't want to keep this guy because he's not going to be too helpful for our defendant. And then there are other people who are the challenges for cause, such as this gal who does not speak English. And so we would challenge her for cause, as that is she wouldn't be able to understand the trial and the situations taking place. There are other prospective jurors in this pool that are also distractors, people that don't really care, people that have their already formulated opinions about things. And so the student's idea is to just get the most appropriate pool for their defendant. And so some of the potential jury members, if you challenge for cause, they will be denied by the judge because there's not enough of a reason for cause to actually dismiss that juror. Once the student is done, they are able to save an image of their veneer, and through that image, it can either be posted as part of the assignments tool or part of the discussions tool, And in each case, they would likely be given the opportunity to defend their position, defend their pool, and see exactly, what other students' responses to their ideas might be. Creating is the top level of our pyramid in Bloom's taxonomy, and it's where we check whether or not the student can create a new product or a new point of view. And so by the end of this presentation, the viewer will be able to design a original homework problem dealing with Bloom's taxonomy. So things such as compiling, creating, generating, modeling, summarizing, they're all action words in this domain that you might see as part of a learning objective. Activities in this domain, including asking things to create things like a concept map, which I'll show you in 1 minute, of the topics in their course as they relate to other situations that they're presented with. Or can be things like creating a flow diagram, a PowerPoint presentation, and then explaining that to the rest of the students in the course. User freedom in these interactives falls along the create and construct level of interactivity. The system provides a representation of a collection of tools and the ability of the student to control the tools, a mechanism to combine the tools, and evaluation of the student's solution, or an environment that simulates an external reality, and the students, through interaction, develop their own understanding of the external reality. And so for creating level interactive, we do have a concept mapping tool that allows students to create concepts and kind of create bubble diagrams, a mind map, some people call it as well. And so we start out with a concept that can be moved anywhere on the screen. And then we type in a new concept. Those two concepts get connected, and now they're forever connected unless you were to unlink or link them as part of the system here. So as we create more and more concepts, they all continue to get linked together. But then at some point, there's going to come a time when you want to link concept 2 to concept 4, for example. So we just change our numbers here from 2 and 3 to 2 and 4, and then we link them, and as you can see, it automatically repositions the elements to fall into the diagram. The student can continue to drag them around the stage to kind of reposition things a little bit, but it always kind of tries to reposition itself to be more applicable. Now, what were to happen were concept 3 and concept 4 not being related? You can unlink item 4 from item 3, and that splits them apart so they show up as two independent concepts. The student would then print this activity and once again use this as part of a discussion or to expand the idea into a paper that can be turned into an assignment to show that they can formulate a concept map of the topic at hand and how it relates to the scenario being presented. So now that we've gone over our kind of interactives, there is also the concept of open educational resources. Take that not only to mean the resources that have already been developed out there, but also some of the tools that exist out there, such as Google Docs, Flickr, Delicious, Glyphy, Bubble.us, and all the different other areas. We can create interactives that simulate some of these things, but we can also create interactives that import information into them or take information from them and build upon them. And so working with your instructional programmer, we can try and develop a better concept that would apply to your particular course or the instructional objective that you currently are using. There are sites that catalog a number of OER resources already online. There's the oercommons.org, and the oerconsortium.org. There are a number more that deal with both open resources and open courseware. And yeah. So then going into really, what do we need to create these interactives? So this is what the instructional application team is going to present you with as we work with an instructor to develop an idea for an interactive application. The very first thing that we'd like to be wanting from you is some idea of what the syllabus holds, what topics you're going to be presenting on, and usually in the syllabus there's any need for prerequisites, classes that were previously taken that would build upon that knowledge. Sometimes if we've developed an interactive for a prerequisite, it may be helpful to include that interactive as just a kind of side activity for your students to do as well. We want to work with you and understand your vision. And so it's helpful for us to have storyboards or already existing examples we can reference and draw information from. And if you don't have any ideas, we'll try and provide you some. The caveat, though, is we need at least some learning objectives, and then some topics to work from. We ask that these for these, as it'll give us an idea of some of the ideas, give us some ideas for what the prerequisites for the course might be, such as formulas they covered in previous courses or concepts they might have previously encountered in another course. We also want to see if there are any technology requirements you are expecting and discuss that with you, and discuss with you any that might be imposed by an interactive, such as if a student would need a webcam, a mobile device, like something to capture an image to upload, or a microphone to be able to record themselves speaking. And so going into some of the interactive activities and what we'd actually need. So for something like a drag and drop activity, items, targets for items to drag to, what each item should drag to, and the feedback, those are important. And so we're trying to look at each one and saying what sort of materials will the instructor be expected to provide as part of that. Most activities will require what equates to a set of questions and a set of answers. And so, like I said, for a drag and drop, we would need the buckets that are dropped into, what is being dropped, so that's your question and answer, and a key to work from. When all items are dropped, what feedback should be provided as appropriate. And then going into something like a Jeopardy style quiz game, once again, you're looking at questions and answers, but we'd need enough to fill the entire board. And so if you had 6 categories of questions with 5 questions for each category, we're going to need 30 questions. And then what's the possible answers for each question? So if it's like a multiple choice Jeopardy game, we need to know all the possibilities that should come up, or what distractors should be there. And then we like to have a threshold to show that they did a good job. Did they get enough points to actually complete the assignment? Does an 80% or above count for that? Does a 70% or above, or do they have to get 100%? But for more complex activities such as simulations and experiments, it's helpful for us to have the lab manuals, books, or videos to show the process. Online education also has the equipment to come into the lab or any other location to film the experiment, which we can then bring back and create an interactive from it, such as what you saw with the biology presentation that Shannon gave us with a video quiz. For simulations and experiments, it is always important that we are given the answers that a student should receive, along with any distractors they might encounter. This way we can try and account for any potential situations that come up when running a simulation. The feedback and outcome are one of the most important pieces of any interactive, as it lets the student know they have either chosen the correct answer, input the right response, or accomplished the task. The most popular form is to display a score in the percentage-based format. This can also be used to attribute to letter grades, fractions, or other common grading practices. We can also use the concept of code words as part of an activity. So a student will enter a code word they get from an activity into a web campus quiz, which then translates into the score. This is used particularly effectively within this criminal justice course. So each activity, even the juror one you saw, when they were finished, they actually received a code word that entered into the quiz, so that way the instructor would know that they've actually gone through the activity completely. For activities where the student is creating material, we most often use the screenshot option or the ability to save off a file, which will then be uploaded for an assignment in Web Campus. We can also generate text that could be copied and pasted in a discussion post or a general printout, which the student can store as part of their own records. So as we complete activities, we'll ask you to test them and ensure the correct information is displaying. This includes both the correct and incorrect answers displaying properly. That is of the utmost importance to us that data accuracy is correct. We appreciate any feedback you can provide, including the feedback of your colleagues, GAs, or TAs during the development phases. Cross-platform, browser, and skill level are all appreciated areas to receive feedback during our development. Once the activity is being delivered, we're happy to embed it into your Web Campus course. If you work with us throughout the process, there is an opportunity that we could provide you with an editable file to modify the activity and show you how to work within the Web Campus environment to do that. We're also here to work with you if there are any students in your course that are not able to do the activity. We work closely with the DRC to ensure all students can be accommodated for, and we can provide an alternative solution that will have the same outcome of the interactive. As students go through the course, we encourage any feedback we can get regarding the interactive activities they encountered, including any issues they had loading the activity, performance of the activity. So as courses are redeveloped over the years, it is important that we look back over previous semesters and see what interactives worked, where students struggled in the course, and utilize activities in the best possible manner to supplement the course. So that wraps up our presentation here. We've taken you through who we are, what we can do, what you can expect we'll ask for, and how we'll accomplish what can be done, and what will be expected of you during your development. You've seen some of the Bloom's taxonomy levels, and hopefully you'll have some learning objectives for us to move forward with. And so we hope this presentation has opened up your mind to potential possibilities for your course, and we look forward to working with you. If there are any questions, I'll take them now or have my colleagues respond to them. Seeing as we're mostly online ed members of this presentation, we'll take questions through the online ed website. You can use the contact form to contact us, or you can email me directly or one of our team members directly. Again, Chris Duke, Paul Erickson, Shannon Peevey, John Murphy. They're all part of our online team. Unfortunately, we didn't have John Murphy's number at the time of this presentation, so it's not there, but it is available online through our online education website. We ask that you please leave the session by clicking Help and the Leave Session option, so that way this session will be recorded fully. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening to this presentation, and any feedback is always appreciated.